How many times a day do you catch yourself doom scrolling or going down an internet rabbit hole? Hi, my name is Rachel Winter and I am Assistant Curator here at the MSU Broad Art Museum, and I'm excited to talk to you about the exhibition Kayla Mattis Doomscrolling, which is on view at the MSU Broad Art Museum until August 18th, 2024. Kayla Mattis Doomscrolling is an exhibition that explores the many reasons why we are addicted to our phones, our screens, the internet, and digital technology more broadly. This exhibition is also the artist's first solo museum exhibition, and 11 out of the 14 pieces that you see in the show were made brand new just for us, just for this exhibition. If you're not familiar with Kayla and her work, Kayla is a Los Angeles-based tapestry weaver whose work explores the archive of our time. Through tapestry weaving, Kayla documents the ephemeral moments that we see in digital culture. The term doom scrolling refers to the ways that we mindlessly scroll our apps and the internet, but often not realizing that we're taking in a lot of negative information and that it can have a lot of negative impacts on our mental and physical health. That is the idea informing this exhibition, and the piece that started our thinking about this show is this one, which is called Doom Scroll, and it was made in 2022. There are a lot of exciting things that you can see in this piece. There's dooms at the top, which is drawn from some graffiti that the artist saw in Los Angeles. There's a bedtime reminder that says 12:05 noon, which refers to the ways that we can often feel exhausted very early in the day. You see cats on Zoom, your co-star notification, someone who feels very exhausted at their laptop. And also in the top left, you can see a spiral graph that was actually drawn from the New York Times and refers to COVID cases in the early days of the pandemic. When we think of the internet now, some not great things might come to mind, but in this work, which is called Fun Fact, the artist is trying to point out that the internet actually used to be a very different place. And here what you see is keyboard cat. You also see the side-eye meme, which has become very popular, and also critical error symbols that show the way that the internet sometimes breaks or gets overwhelmed. Also in this work, the artist is alluding to the relationships between technology and weaving. Specifically, you can see it in the top left corner with the sort of pixelated color chart that you see. So when we're talking about technology and we're talking about weaving, we also use very similar terms around connectivity, touching, interweaving, coding, binary logic, and many more things. And in fact, it was the logic of the Jacquard loom and its binary patterns that were used for things like time cards and the sort of other punching that became very important to the very first algorithm that was designed by Ada Lovelace, but then also the development of the first computer. And so when we think about the internet now, looking at this piece helps us remember that the internet used to be a very different place, but also that craft and tapestry weaving, among other things, which are now seen as very feminine artistic practices, actually had a very formative impact on technology, which is actually seen as a very male-dominated field. You'll also see works like this, which is called The Apps, and it refers to the ways that we are trying to actually find community and connection on the internet. You can see that idea of relationship building on the internet in this work, but also in the work called Linked, which you can see in the show. The apps refers to dating apps, which are a very common way that people meet now because it can be very difficult to go out and meet people in person. And so in the work, the artist shows us some of the gestures and features of these apps. For example, you can see the gesture of swiping, and in which a very quick second you can decide whether or not you'll get to know someone more. You also can see things like the ghosts. You also see ads for dating, which refers to the ways that the internet also tries to help us. And lastly, you also see various lines and also highway signs. Those are drawn from Google Maps, and they refer specifically to Los Angeles traffic. While we can search for the internet to perhaps find friendships, but also to look for really cute animal pictures, we also might spend a lot of time on Google, which is what the artist is exploring in the 3 Google works that you can see here. For these works, the artist spent several weeks typing what is, when is, and why is into the Google search bar, and then Kayla took screenshots of the automated responses. These automated responses are based on what your recent searches are, what people around you are searching, what common search trends are at the time. Together, all of these searches, which are a bit of a collage from different top searches over time, tell us a little bit about our collective consciousness. While we might look to the internet for information, we might also look for information about ourselves, such as through astrology, or ways to better ourselves, such as through online platforms like BetterHelp, which you see references to throughout the show. But in the last work of the exhibition, we return to the idea of doom scrolling in this piece, which is called Existing. And this piece takes us a little bit away from the internet, more towards the everyday realities of existing in the 21st century. And so with all of these references, what the work is thinking about is very simply, climate change and the ways that there are many different physical factors that also make it challenging to exist in the world. Also, you'll take note in this work of the cat that you can see at the top by doom scrolling sitting on a watermelon, because cats are actually thought of as a reference or a symbol of protest or social change. When you visit the exhibition, there's so much more to see and learn. For example, you can watch a video that shows you a little bit about Kayla's process and how she makes the tapestry weavings that you see in the show. Tell us what the last thing was that you searched for on Google with this interactive, and you can also touch samples of Kayla's work to understand what the embroideries actually feel like and what the textures are that go into them. As you walk through the show, it might seem like it's a little bit busy. There's a lot of things going on in a lot of the works, and that specifically is meant to speak to the ways that the internet can be very busy. But with that busyness, you're also invited to slow down, look closely, and spend some time reflecting, not only on the work, but also the ways that the internet and technology impacts our daily life. And in the end, perhaps you'll stop doom scrolling.